No, this is everybody. You think you get to get out and we get to stay? Okay. We ready? We're calling to order a public engagement. Guys, this is going to move quickly, this train. You know how I run a work session. Ba-deep. We're going to review Education Summit, and we're going to review the school board public education, or public engagement communications plan. This is going to be quick. I'm going to throw it to Ms. Hunter to review. No, we're going to do Education Summit first, the harder part first. There you go. I'm going to have Barbara give us a quick overview of what PEC has set as the tone for this, and she's going to go through the draft agenda and the plans, and then I'll open it up for any questions or input on this, because this has got to be finalized. We're coming very quickly down on top of this.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Schultz. Good evening, and I'm really happy to share with you what's nearing the final agenda for the Education Summit this year. We already have 250 registrants, so I know a lot of people are excited and really looking forward to coming. You see the agenda in front of you. One of the things we have finalized is the alumni panel. Although we're still waiting to hear from two folks which are indicated invited, which I'm hoping that we can add to complete the panel. I'm really happy to share that Jumi Olabanji, WJLA news reporter and anchor, who's from Westfield High School, is going to be moderating, and she's thrilled. She even quoted, "FCPS made me what I am today," so I'm really happy. And you can see some other folks. We have gotten a variety of backgrounds, which was the intent of this alumni panel. And we have a Bryant Alternative High School graduate who has a very compelling story to share as well. So I think it's going to be an excellent alumni panel. Following, we have about 25 breakout sessions that Kathleen Thomas, who's in the room, has been wonderful in working with our staff to put together. And I think every classroom at Edison High School on that first floor is going to be filled. And in addition, we have our normal exhibitors, which include a lot of folks within FCPS. So that's the quick overview of the Education Summit. And of course, Dr. Karen Garza, who will be our opening speaker, who's going to unveil officially the portrait of a graduate.
Okay, so one of the instrumental things that I thought PEC did very well was come up with this idea of the alumni panel. I know we have a couple that are not quite confirmed, and I'm sending to Barbara right now Jason Pack's information. He was the Fairfax High School graduate from 2008 who was grievously wounded in Afghanistan. Was their keynote speaker for their graduation this past year and was phenomenal. So I'm going to hopefully have you get in contact. So if we have any others that you guys know about that would be willing for her to have as backstop in case we don't have those last two, but I think that those would be filled. So are there any questions or comments about the Education Summit, the draft agenda that we put together, the panel? Il-Young?
I just wanted to ask a quick question regarding some of the breakout sessions include, I think I see a FCPS adult ESOL, and if this is for the adult out there in the community, how will you be able to communicate that we are having this Education Summit to those who need to learn English as maybe their second, third language?
We are putting all of our promotion materials out in other languages, all of our languages, and we'll do call-outs to, at least in Spanish and Korean.
But where are they going to?
Parents.
Just the parents? It's not going to general public?
Well, we're promoting everything to the general public, of course. Yes, news release, Twitter, social media, and placement in is that where you're headed with this? In
asking.
Foreign language media. Definitely we could do that in Hispanic and Korean media.
Okay, there are other languages as well. I know you're just picking on the Korean in addition to, but there are others. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Ryan stepped out, so I'm going to skip him and go to Megan.
So I guess this is more of a macro level observation that I mostly wanted to kind of share with Dr. Garza. I think this is an extremely ambitious education summit. I applaud everyone and the incredible amount of work that's going into this. And it's too bad my colleague who was sitting next to me, Mr. Stork's not here, because he and I almost have dueling conversation for the last 3 years that I've been on the board. I'm really worried about this. We're talking 25 breakout sessions. When I started just eyeballing how many staff per session, you could easily be looking at 50 or more staff just for the breakout sessions who are going to be conducting it, let alone who prepared for it, who's there in the building to get this thing running. Like, it's so well intentioned, but when I think about some of our other summits that we've been doing over time, we know the Students with Disabilities is one of the most, heavily attended, and then the AAP summit tends to be very heavily attended, and the Stress Summit was very successful. But I would just beg and implore this board to please look at the end results here, not of total attendees, but who outside of FCPS attended this. Because I just think it's such a nice thing to want to do, but I don't know if this is mission critical. When I think about staff time to develop all of this, I'd rather they'd be working on running the school system and delivering services to our kids. And it really does worry me. It's ambitious, it's impressive, but I don't know if this is mission critical.
Okay, Dr. Garza, do you have something to say to that? Not at this time? Yeah, I think I'll pass. Okay, so I will. I'm getting to you. We'll come back around to this, but for right now, the PEC's mission was to carry out what was put forward. And so
absolutely.
If we want to bring this up,
it's like at some point it's a visual for me to be able to say this is.
We'll come back around. I have Kathy and then Tammy.
The location issue, and this is where it is now. But in the past, the board has always wanted things centrally located so people from around the county can go. And I kind of asked this last year, and I don't know that I got a response. So what I want to know, is there a way to track when people sign up for this, do they say what school their kids are in? I kind of need to know, is somebody representing the western part of the county? Is anybody from the western part of the county showing up?
So Kathy, this was a big part of PEC's discussion, and we tried very hard to move it this year. In fact, we wanted to move it to Robinson to be more centrally located for expressly that reason, and you got to bet that I was advocating that same. And it was just a question of availability. And I think that at this point, what we have to do is, if we're going to decide to move it next year, and we're going to decide to do it next year, Ms. McLaughlin, then we put out there and we tell a school, by the way, we're going to do it, and this is the date we're going to do it, and block it out. Don't put anything else on it. So noted, and we tried with Herculean effort to find someplace else.
But the other part of my question was, is there any way to track where people are coming from?
Let me defer to Kathleen. We didn't ask zip code. Well, right.
Numerous high schools were attempted. Is that correct?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
I have to speak to this. For years, it's been in the central Robinson, Woodson, and it was very difficult to get from one end of the county, from our end of the county, the eastern part. We thought about having it in the western part. This year we weren't able to do that. But I think when you look at the attendance at the Edison, it was the most well attended. Edison is easy to get to. And we also talked about the attendance last year mirrored more the changing demographics of the county as did opposed to the earlier sessions at the central part of the county. That was very important. We talked about that at length in PEC last year.
Okay, but I think it's a fair question, Barbara, Ms. Smith is saying, could we institute some method of tracking? Because I think that also Ms. McLaughlin had a good point too, is how many are FCPS staff and how many are parents? Like, are we catering to and involving and getting parents, like Young has brought up, hey, are we actually drawing in parents, or are we 75% staff? So could you do something along those lines?
Yes, we generally ask people to sign in when they come in, and so what we can do, we can just have them fill out a card that has their zip code or even their their pyramid.
Their pyramid.
We could just check. They could just do a really quick check and turn it in. So we get a good sense, and also role: parent, community member, student, teacher, that sort of thing.
Okay, Ryan, we skipped over you because you left.
Yeah, my only concern from last year was the very small classes, and I know this was addressed in PEC, but you did say all the classrooms are occupied on that first floor. So.
Well, what we did is Kathleen did a site visit, and we branched out beyond those small classrooms that are right in front of the auditorium, and so we're pushing out through the school, and we have larger classrooms down the halls.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks.
There is no PEC. There is a PEC, however. Yes, Ms. Strauss.
I think this looks very inviting and very interesting because what we agreed on as a topic for the summit was to show basically the possibilities for children in FCPS. And I think that you all have put together a broad range of really very exciting things. And if somebody wants to know the backstory on Molly Dickerson, I'll give it to you personally. It's pretty exciting. So, hopefully a lot of people will come. Edison is very easy to get to, even though it's not as close to all parts of the county, but nothing is.
Okay, Ms. Strauss, compliment noted.
Yes.
Is there anything that you have about the draft agenda?
No, I just want to compliment. And
Okay, great. Compliment noted. Okay, we're moving on to the education. If there's nothing else, we're moving on to the engagement calendar. Yes, Ms. Reed?
I wonder whether we want to add a session on the budget. It's not directly related to the topic at hand, but we talked about it.
Stay in your lane.
In the closet.
This is navigating your child's individual educational
All right,
experience.
how about a
through
compromise?
FCPS.
We'll leave copies of the Citizens Guide available if people
Great.
want to pick them up.
Definitely.
Absolutely. I
Great,
think
suggestion
that's a great
noted.
idea.
Moving on. Can we please put up the engagement calendar?
Everyone will get it.
Consensus of the event is okay? Yes. Is there a nodding agreement? Yes, okay. We have very limited change in terms of the overall mission through the engagement calendar of the work of PEC. So notably and significantly, as I referred to earlier, budget, we said that we want this to be, the mission of PEC is to develop a communication strategy that is consistent and intentional with regard to communicating budget to stakeholders. Is there anything about that you guys disagree with? If there's compliments, you can hold those for the future. Anything you want to have changed? Do we have another change, Ms. Fields, further down? I believe we have one other very minor. So speaking to some of the concerns expressed just prior, that this is effectively a postmortem on the Education Summit, and especially now that we're going to try to do a little bit more tracking, we'll try to be more effective in a postmortem and plans for next year. Ongoing, the budget development, that's related to number one, and I don't think there's anything further. Okay, is there anything else? Oh, Mr. Velkoff, you had to raise your finger, didn't you? Yes, go right ahead.
You jarred my memory a minute ago. There's no POG. There's P of G.
Okay. All right. I'm glad you kept it pithy. Ms. McLaughlin, if it's absolutely necessary.
I just making again a macro observation because I do not serve on PEC. But I worry that this looks like it's sort of the overall formula that we've had, I don't know, in place for several years. But I'll just give you an example. Number 10, educate stakeholders about the board's governing principles and processes and the board's revised mission, vision, and goals. I got to tell you, my eyes glazed over before I even finished reading that. I mean, there's no way in the grand scheme of public engagement, like that's a mission critical thing for us to do as a board. I can think of maybe a more creative, interesting way, but
You are welcome to offer an amendment at the table and remove that if you like.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You two can work on an amendment. Anything else? I'm discouraging fingers at this point. Otherwise, you're going to leave my 13-year-old at the field with no one to pick him up, unloved and forgotten.
Oh my God.
This work session is closed.
Thank you all for a very long day. Just know that we did remove a work session. So we put a we did remove a work session from our calendar this month. We had a hold on one, we removed that. So it's very important that we got through this today, and thank you all.